ఉంటుంది క్లాస్. Hello students, welcome to Epitome IAS. As a part of our answer writing program, so we were discussing about the previous year's questions of General Studies paper 2, and these are very important. Why? Because generally examiner will not be creating any new question actually from the vacuum. He will be asking the questions from the current affairs and of course the same themes that were followed in the previous examinations, but the dimensions of the questioning will be changing from time to time. Okay, right. So in today's question we are discussing on discuss the evolution of collegium system in the country. Okay, apart from, he has asked another important aspect, also discuss the advantages and disadvantages of collegium or disadvantages of system of appointing judges. Okay, and he also asked us to compare the appointment of Supreme Court judges of India and that of USC. This was the question. Look at here, there are three dimensions here. Okay, the aspirant must be able to address all these three dimensions, right? So it is a 250 words answer and 15 marks question, right? So coming to the answer, what we need to write. So the question appears to be very simple, but the quality depends upon how do you pick up the points. Okay, right. First of all, the appointment of Supreme Court judges, if you try to see, we need to write the introduction. Okay, right. The appointment of Supreme Court judges is made according to Article 124 of the Constitution, 124, which is initiated by judiciary, that is Supreme Court Collegium. Okay, and on the basis of the recommendations of Collegium, the President of India appoints the judges. Okay, so this is how you need to write the introduction. Okay, so in the introduction you will try to write what is the context. Okay, the context here is appointment of judges is made as per Article 124 of the Constitution, initiated by judiciary, that is Supreme Court Collegium. So particularly Chief Justice of India will be consulted by President, but as per the judgment of the Supreme Court, it is the CJI who initiates the appointment of the judges of the Supreme Court. So this is how you need to write the introduction. So you can also, another point here, the appointment of judges is according to the consultation consultation between executive and judiciary. Right, this must be the introduction. Then we need to write what is collegial system. Okay, so evolution of collegium, because this is a first important aspect, first important dimension of the question. Right. So as we already referred the term collegium, okay, so we need to explain what is collegium in the body of the answer. Right. So here how the collegium has been actually evolved. In fact, the constitution, we need to write the constitution envisages the consultation between executive and judiciary for the appointment of the judges. Okay. Originally the appointment of judges of Supreme Court was to be initiated by president. Okay. Later this process of appointment has been changed, has been modified as per the judgments of the Supreme Court. Okay. So this is how. So judiciary and executive means it is between CJI and President of India. This is what we need to write. Okay. Right. So in fact, why this particular appointment process has been under the question. Okay. Particularly the very controversy regarding the appointment process, actually the root cause of the issue is due to the authoritarian postures during emergency, where the executive try to interfere into judicial appointments with political bias. Right. So this has questioned the sanctity of the judicial appointments, particularly the appointment of junior judges as Chief Justice of India. So this is how the judiciary got interfered by the executive. Later what happened? Of course, the question of examination by the Supreme Court was different, but still this is the root cause. Okay, that is the first judge's case. So it is in SP Gupta versus Union of India, 1981. Okay. In this case, the primary question that was challenged was whether the consultation between CJI and President, okay, is it concurrence or mere exchange of opinions. So it means whatever the names that are proposed by the President, because we have said this point, right? What is the point we have mentioned here? Right. So originally the appointment of judges was initiated by the President. Later this process of appointment has been modified. So substantiating that, we have mentioned a point here, whether the consultation between Chief Justice of India and President is concurrence. Concurrence means whether the opinion given by the President is binding on the CJI or not. Okay, or is it only exchange of opinion between CJI and President, right? So then what was the Supreme Court judgment? Supreme Court judge said that the consultation is nothing but merely exchange of opinion, exchange of opinions. And what else? The president enjoys primacy in the appointment of the judges of the Supreme Court. So this was the judgment given. Subsequently, what happened? This particular judgment was further challenged in second judge's case. Second judge's case, right? Second judges is nothing but Supreme Court Advocate on Records Association, okay, versus Union of India. It is 1993. Okay. In this case, what was happened, which is something historical. Why it is historical? Because Supreme Court for the first time has recognized the primacy of Chief Justice of India, where the Chief Justice opinion is binding on President, binding on the President. Then how does the Supreme Court Chief Justice would give his opinion? Only after consultation with two senior most judges. So this is how for the first time the Supreme Court started recognizing the concept of collegium. Okay, the concept of collegium, the institution of collegium, that is extra constitutional body of collegium, for the first time has been recognized in the first judge's case. It is the first judge's case. Sorry, it is the second judge's case. Okay, for the first time, which has recognized the significance of collegium in the appointment of the judges of Supreme Court. But however, the collegium composition was very much restricted to include only 3 judges, that is Chief Justice of India and 2 senior most judges. Okay, then what happened? The Supreme Court was referred by the executive in third judge's case. That is again in 1998. Okay. For the first time in this case, Supreme Court has given a clear mechanism regarding the consultation between the Chief Justice of India as well as collegium. Okay. So actually for the first time the Supreme Court has given the composition of collegium in an elaborative way, right? So it has said that the collegium consists of 1 plus 4, 1 Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most judges. Okay. And not only that, it has also clarified that the judges appointment is not initiated by the President. The judges appointment is initiated by Chief Justice of India after consulting the senior most judges. Not only that, the decisions to be taken in the collegium must be on the basis of consensus. Okay. So consensus means here at least 2 members out of 5 judges oppose the given candidature. That candidature cannot be taken forward. So this is what, right? And moreover, whatever the recommendations that are forwarded by the collegium to the President, they can be returned by the President for the reconsideration. Okay, for reconsideration. But however, if these are again ratified by the Chief Justice of India in collegium, then what will happen? The President has to give the assent for the appointment. Okay. So this is how the collegium, that is the Chief Justice of India, that is the collegium's recommendation is binding on President, binding on the President. Of course, in the third judge's case, the Supreme Court for the first time has elaborated the concept of collegium and also given the clear mechanism of consultation. And not only that, every such opinions must be given in writing, right? So this is how. So in this way, in the first judge's case, Supreme Court did not give the primacy to the judiciary, and in the second judge's case, for the first time it has recognized the concept of collegium. In the third judge's case, it has clearly expanded the composition of the collegium and also elaborated upon the consultation mechanism between the executive and judiciary, right? So now we need to understand what happened later. Okay. So in fact, this is leading to judges appointing judges. Nowhere in the world the judges are actually appointed by the judges themselves. You take America, UK or any other countries, you do not find this mechanism. So due to this criticism, and moreover collegium is very much opaque mechanism, it does not have transparency, no transparency, opaque process. Okay. there is a scope for nepotism in the appointment of the judges. So in order to address these particular challenges, what happened? There was 99th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2015, okay, 2014. So this tried to give a mechanism to appoint the judges of Supreme Court in the form of a constitutional body called as National Judicial Appointments Commission. This commission consisted of both the Supreme Court judges as well as executive representation, right? For example, Supreme Court judges include Chief Justice of India and 2 other judges nominated by the Supreme Court Chief Justice, and apart from that, law minister, then 2 members from the civil society. So this has raised the questions about judicial independence and judicial autonomy. So in this regard, again what happened, there was 4th judge's case, okay. So in the 4th judge's case, that is again Supreme Court Advocate on Records Association versus, okay, Union of India 2015. In this case, Supreme Court has taken this matter of collegium again forward and said that the NJAC, National Judicial Appointments Commission, is unconstitutional. Okay, why it is unconstitutional? Because executive interference into the judicial appointments by giving the representation for the law minister is violation of judicial independence. Apart from that, the NJAC mediated mechanism does not give the primacy to the Chief Justice of India, So that is the reason why this particular NJAC has been invalidated by the Supreme Court in Supreme Court Advocate on Records Association versus Union of India, right. So however, government, of course, the Supreme Court also said the collegium has its own faults, collegium has its own lapses. We need to correct those lapses by devising a new memorandum of procedure, MOP, new memorandum of procedure for the appointment of judges. The revised memorandum of procedure for appointment of judges has been given by the Supreme Court in the 3rd judge's case. After that, Supreme Court has admitted that there are certain faults with respect to collegium consultations or some distress by people. Hence, in order to correct them, let us formulate a new memorandum of procedure. But however, the MOP has not been finally settled between the executive and the judiciary because of the reservations of the judiciary. For example, there was a deadlock on with respect to number 1, secretariat, whether secretariat shall be there or not. Number 2, whether executive can be having the final veto whenever the appointment of judges is related to national security and other things. Suppose a given judge is appointed, if any aspect of national security is endangered, the executive says the final decision making power must be vested with itself. And executive also insists that there must be representation for Attorney General in the consultation process. But however, judiciary is not ready to accept them. So judiciary felt that any kind of such acceptance will be leading to violation of judicial independence, right. So this is how the evolution part we can write, okay. So I hope you are able to understand, but you need to carefully observe the question, okay. So what is the question? The question is, see, it says that advantages and disadvantages of appointment of judges, right. So basically we need to make some comparison here. What is that comparison? First of all, Indian appointment process of judges is different from that of the appointment of judges in other countries, okay. For example, okay, appointment of judges of Indian Supreme Court is different from that of the appointment of similar judges in other countries. Okay. For example, you take the appointment of the Supreme Court judges in India or High Court judges in India. Okay. Both are appointed by President. Okay. But however, the President consults judiciary. Originally, the President consults the judiciary. Why the President should consult the judiciary? Okay. The advantage of consultation of President to the judiciary is that the judiciary has the institutional knowledge, particularly Chief Justice of India being the highest law officer or the judge of the Supreme Court. So he will be having the institutional capacity to assess the candidature of the given candidates for the appointment as the Supreme Court judges, because he has huge network and institutional capacity, access to various resources, etc. But compared to the judges of America, for example, Supreme Court of America, President appoint judges, there is no doubt about that, but such appointment of the judges must be ratified by the Senate of America. Okay, so this is how you are fundamentally creating a different mechanism, than that of the Supreme Court and executive consultation that takes place in the country. There, the consultation between President and Senate, and President has to pass the appointment of the judges with simple majority. So then only the appointment process takes place, right? So this is how. Then what we need to understand here, what are the advantages? Okay, so what is advantage? We need, see, people generally write advantages of collegium and disadvantages of collegium. That does not serve the purpose. First of all, we need to write, right? So advantages of appointment process of judges of Indian Supreme Court. If you try to see, first and foremost important thing is this appointment process derives advantage due to the institutional capacity of Chief Justice of India. Because what is the reason? There is a mandatory consultation between judiciary and executive, right? And number two, and particularly due to collegium system, there will be plurality of consultation, so that it may limit the arbitrariness of the decision making, right? Not only that, due to the power of collegium to give binding recommendations, it leads to lesser interference of executive into judicial. Okay, and apart from that, the judiciary can function as per the requirements of the constitution. For example, we can see Article 50, separation of judiciary from executive, right? Not only that, judiciary will not be politicized. No scope for politicization of judiciary, unlike American system. Okay, next. We can ensure the judiciary is insulated from ideological pressures of party in power. Hence, judiciary can promote constitutional morality. Okay, right? And next important thing is the present system of appointment can facilitate innovation, flexibility, and an informal atmosphere to assess the quality of judges. Okay, so this is how we can write certain advantages of collegium system. Okay, right? And appointment of judges, the advantage of appointment of process of appointment of judges in the country, right? Then we need to write. So how many points we have written? So we have written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost all 7 points we have written. So it depends upon your time and flexibility to write. Okay, right. Then what are the disadvantages? Disadvantages include, okay, what are the disadvantages? For example, there is a chance that nepotism in terms of reflection of caste interest and class interests. Example, out of 34 judges, only presently 2 are from SC community, no representation from Sikh community, Christians. Okay, similarly, okay, 1 Muslim member is there, of course, and just only 1 woman is there presently, only 1 woman in the Supreme Court. Okay, very lesser representation for diverse communities, right? And not only that, the judges, appointing judges is not possible in any country, okay. So it means the judiciary may build its own empire. So it is against the letter and spirit of the constitution. Particularly collegium is purely judicial innovation and not provided by the constitution. Okay, right. When the judges are appointing their own judges, that may lead to clashes or friction between legislature and judiciary and executive. Okay. Suppose if the judiciary does not take the opinion or does not accept the opinion of the executive, okay, that will be leading to dangerous consequences. For example, since the removal of judges is so difficult, okay, so complete judicial primacy may create troubles due to corrupt judges and the misconduct of the judges. Okay, right. Next important thing is, okay, the judicial primacy may lead to delays in the appointment. Of the judges. Okay, right. Because whenever, particularly when executive does not like the appointment, executive simply want to delay the appointment. Right. Next point is, the collegium is an opaque mechanism, okay, which does not explain why a candidature is rejected, does not disclose, no disclosure of consultation. Okay, right. And apart from that, it does not have secretariat. Okay, right. So this is how there is a criticism that the appointment of judges is just decided at a cup of coffee, decided on a cup of coffee. It means how easily you have a coffee or tea, in that simple manner the judge's appointment is decided. So this was the accusation given by the previous Supreme Court judges, the retired judges of Supreme Court, right. So this is why these are nothing but the disadvantages of the appointment of the judges in the country. It means the process of appointment has these many issues, right. Then what is the next important point? So the other dimension in the question was, right, compare the appointment of judges of India with that of United States of America, right. We need to compare this appointment of judges, right. How do we compare? For example, so as I told you already, appointment of judges in India and in USC, right. So presently appointment is initiated by judiciary, initiated by president, okay. Appointment is to be ratified, I mean that is made by president, and no requirement of the ratification by legislature, right. Here the appointment is made by president, but ratification is to be done by Senate. Senate has to ratify this appointment, okay. So that means no scope for politicization, okay, and no role envisaged for bar council, no clear role for bar council, okay. There is a role for bar council, American Bar Council, okay. After the appointment proposal is initiated, the Bar Council of America, American Bar Council, will give its assessment, okay, regarding the candidature of a person, okay, right. And moreover, there is a recognition for the FBI reports. So it means appointment can be done only when the intelligence reports are very much in favor of the person, right. In India, there is no clear mechanism how president may consider his appointment, unlike America, right. This is how we can understand the difference between the appointment of judges in Supreme Court of America and Supreme Court of India, right. So then, so we need to write conclusion. So what do you write? So in the conclusion, we need to summarize entire aspect, okay. So we need to write the judges of Supreme Court. The judges of Supreme Court are appointed by president on the basis of recommendation of collegium, whereas in USA, judges appointment is initiated by president and to be ratified by Senate, okay, right. Both Okay, the right, the Collegium of Indian Supreme Court is an extra constitutional mechanism. Okay, whereas that of India, with that of USA is constitutional mechanism. Okay. And both systems have both advantages and disadvantages. Despite Indian government has made certain efforts to reform collegium, they are yet to come into reality. So this is how we need to write the answer. Okay. So the Supreme Court judges are appointed by President on the basis of recommendation of collegium, whereas in USA, judges appointment is initiated by President and which has to be ratified by the Senate. The Collegium of Supreme Court is an extra constitutional mechanism where the whereas the USA's constitution has given the constitutional mechanism. USA has constitutional mechanism, and both systems have both advantages and disadvantages. And despite the Indian government has made certain efforts to reform the collegiate system, they are yet to be realized. So this is how we need to write the answer. Okay, I hope you got the point. Right. So thus we are trying to write answer this way. First of all, we have explained what is the introduction. The appointment of Supreme Court judges is made according to Article 124 initiated by judiciary. On the basis of the recommendation of collegium, the President of India appoints the judges. Right. So later we have written what is the evolution of collegium, right? So constitution envisages consultation between executive and judiciary for the appointment of judges. Originally the appointment of judges of Supreme Court was to be initiated by President. Later this process of appointment has been modified as per the judgments of Supreme Court. So what is the root cause? We have mentioned the root cause here, and then we have written first judge's case, second judge's case, third judge's case, and also fourth judge's case, and we also briefly mentioned about the Supreme Court's openness regarding the memorandum of procedure, and we have also explained there was a deadlock between executive and judiciary. So we need to write those points. Then advantages, it derives advantage due to institutional capacity of CJI, due to collegium plurality of consultation is there, due to the power of collegium to give a binding recommendation, it leads to lesser interference of executive into the judiciary. Judiciary can function as per the requirement of constitution, that is separation of judiciary from executive, Article 50. No scope for the polarization of judiciary, unlike American system. We can ensure judiciary is insulated ideologically from ideological pressures of the party in power. Thus judiciary can promote constitutional morality. The present system of appointment can facilitate innovation, flexibility and informal atmosphere to assess the quality of judges. Then we will write the disadvantages this way. So nepotism in terms of reflection of constitution, caste and the class interest, like out of 34 judges, only 2 judges are from SC community, and BCs have not having effective representation. And judges appointment is not possible in any country. Appointing judges is not possible in any country. Thus judiciary may build its own empire building tendencies, right? Collegium is purely judicial innovation, not provided by constitution. So that may lead to friction between executive and judiciary. Since the removal of judiciary is so difficult, and complete judicial primacy may create troubles due to the corruption of judges. So when the removal is difficult, definitely that leads to corruption. So judicial primacy may lead to delays in the appointment, and collegium is opaque mechanism, we have written. So we have discuss what is the difference between the judges of appointment of judges in India and Supreme Court. So these are the points we have written, and later we have concluded the answer, right? So what I advise is we need to have the conceptual clarity to write the answers. So when you have that clarity, you can create your own answer. It is out of complete your conceptual background, conceptual clarity, and innovation, creativity, and the skill of writing. So these are all the combination of things which can make your answer apt for the question. Okay, so kindly give me suggestions or any other inputs for the betterment of classes, and there are live sessions on every week, weekends, for example Saturday and Sunday. So keep tuned for these live videos in order to grasp the skill of answer writing. Thank you.